Welcome to the People Teaching People podcast. Joining me on the podcast are the Sangria Sisters, Val MacLean and Lori McGillivray. After following their journey for a number of years on social media, I recently got to meet Val and Lori in real life at a YYC Fempreneurs event in Calgary. I have always enjoyed their fun content and positive energy and admired their commitment to giving back. A memorable interaction online that I had with them was when my Instagram account got hacked and the hacker was sending messages to my followers to try and hack their accounts. There really are some terrible people in this world. Anyways, Val and Lori knew that the hacker wasn't me because the messages were curt and there were no heart emojis. If there's one word to describe the sisters, it is fun. Val and Lori share how life isn't always rosé behind the white picket fence in their hilarious humor blog, Sangria Sisters. Relatable and real, they tackle titillating topics with trucker mouth care. The sisters use their platform to champion women and causes close to their heart. Their goal is to spread kindness and joy every damn day. Thank you so much for joining me, Val and Lori.
Thanks for having us. We're very happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation, and I'm really excited to get to know the both of you even better. So let's go back to the beginning, and I'd love for you to share how the Sangria Sisters journey started.
Well, we found ourselves at a crossroads. I was just winding up a 20-year career in oil and gas. Lori was working in the Durham industry, and we both found ourselves kind of without a job. And then my, the parent council days, your hockey mom days and all that were coming to an end. And I really was looking for something to do. We just thought it'd be fun to we feel that we're very much champions for women. We feel that we've got a lot of perspective, just we're a little older. And we just wanted to share our wisdom with the world.
Yeah. And we knew we wanted to work together in some capacity. We were just trying to figure out how we wanted to do that. And I think one of the big things we wanted to do was to be able to do that from anywhere in the world or anywhere that we were.
Like a beach.
Yes,
exactly.
That's what we had in mind. Without overhead or anything that we had to worry about like that. So this seemed like a natural fit.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the name Sangria Sisters?
Oh, over multiple glasses of wine. We had dozens of different things. Like our maiden name is Pilgrim, so we were plastered pilgrims, which was like obviously not. We had mimosa mates and Bellini buds, and we wanted to keep it. I mean, it really does personify who we are. We're fun. We like to have a lot of fun. We like to have a glass of wine. We like to be with other people. So that's Sangria Sisters was born.
So you both do blogging and are both excellent writers. So you're most welcome. And one of the things I find with writing and any writing that I've done is sometimes the hardest part can be deciding what to write and getting started. So how do you decide what you're going to write about?
Well, we have, I guess, sort of brainstorming sessions where we'll sit and just throw out ideas. We also have just a list of things that we've written throughout the years, and we keep going back and pulling ideas from them. But some things just hit easier than others. Once you come on to a decision on maybe one of these titles, and it just starts flowing as we start throwing out ideas and the funny things and whatever, might be humorous or entertaining or whatever. And it just flows really quickly, and we just grab onto that. And then we will leave some of those other ones. Some of them we don't even ever get to, and other ones we go back to.
But I used to worry that we would run out, and we've never, like in 7 years, we've never run out of content or ideas, because life is, we're very relatable, and we're listening to you guys and to our friends and
things we're going through at the time. There's always fodder.
Yes,
really.
Exactly.
Yeah, always something going on to give you
Mhm.
that nudge or inspiration for something
That's
to write.
right.
So you started this 7 years ago, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so along that journey, you make this decision, okay, this is something we want to do. We want to do it together. Has there been anything along that journey that has surprised you?
Mm.
I think the amount of male followers we have that really enjoy. We thought it would be exclusively female, and we have a lot of guys that just I think they take it as a inside information
I was
on
gonna say.
onto the
On a woman's
female
mind.
on the
Yeah.
women's mind, because we do expect them to be mind readers a lot of the times, and so this way they're getting the deep stuff, right? That when we've wrote about sex, we've wrote about romance, we've wrote about losing parents, we've wrote about pretty much everything, so that it's relatable for them too.
So you mean they can't read our minds?
Yeah, well, that is a common problem with women,
Yeah.
right? Like we just expect them to be able to, and they're completely fundamentally different.
Yeah.
God bless them. They're simple.
Their minds are more straight track. Ours are
Yeah.
multi-dimensional, multitasking at all times.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're a little more complicated.
You
I'd say.
never ask a man more than one question at a time. You just have to, yeah, you ask that, wait for it, and then
Then move
launch
on.
off into the next.
Well, and it's funny you say that because sometimes I will say something out loud and I think I must have had the first part of whatever I was going to say just in my head and I
Yes.
neglected to say that part. And my husband finds it so confusing. He's like, okay, that just seemed to come out of left field. But
Right?
in my mind, it makes sense. And why can't he just
Follow along
understand?
or get left behind.
Right? Use the context clues. Come on.
Exactly.
So, with all the blog posts that you've written, do you have a sense of how many you've written now? Have you
Gosh,
ever
No.
counted? No.
no,
Nope.
never have. What we're doing now is going back, and it's changed significantly since we've started, because neither of us are trained writers, and but we're really good at finding the funny. So what we wrote originally was long and clunky, and
Yeah.
it was still funny, but it just doesn't have the finesse that it has now. So we have to go back in and get rid of a lot of those. But a lot of those is what we are redoing now, because they were good. They had good concepts. And you know what? I was told that when we first started, that you should always reuse your content in a different way, because it's still relevant. It's still interesting, but you could just expand on it. So that helps too.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, there's something to be said for, you look back at when you started and as you said, your writing isn't what it is now, but to look back and be able to see that journey and how things have progressed and how you've improved and all the things that you've learned by going through it and doing it along the way.
Totally.
And the process of learning to write together as
I
a team
bet.
as opposed to individually, and how that's really evolved over the years as well.
Yeah.
Now there's a nice flow to it. It's quite easy to jump in and jump out.
So my podcast will be 4 years old in February. And
Really?
yeah, it's been a
Congrats.
while. Thank you.
Is this, but you had another podcast before
Yeah,
this one,
so
right?
it sort
Yeah.
of evolved into this
Yeah.
one. So I've kind of made it one and the same. But yeah, it will be 4 years. And I look back to when I started and how hard it was and what a learning curve it was and how things have changed so much since I started. My first podcast guest was my sister, actually.
Oh.
And we have different last names. So I tried not to mention the fact that we were related in any way. So it would seem like I had some unrelated awesome podcast guests on my podcast. But yeah, she was my very first guest, which was great. It was good to have my first guest be somebody that I know so well and feel
that you're comfortable with. Yes.
Yeah, because I felt like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Who's actually even going to listen to this podcast other than maybe my mom?
And
And
you're really putting yourself out there when you're when you're doing any of this, you're sharing yourself, you're sharing your thoughts, so yes, there always is that little bit of worry. Is there anyone out there that's even going to be, but there is. It turns out
there is. And then
Yeah.
then the opposite fear came up, like, oh my goodness, so other people are going to be listening. So what are they going to think? So it goes in all the directions, but
Totally true.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, even though it's been 4 years, I still get like a little nervous before every conversation. And yeah, but it's so much fun. I really enjoy being able to have interesting conversations with amazing and interesting people like yourself. So
well, and I think nerves actually just it's just like if it's slight nerves, it's good. It's you want
Right.
it just
excitement. I always say you're not nervous, you're excited.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of my clients, her daughter used the term nearsighted. So it's like a combination of nervousness and being excited. I really like
that's
that.
funny.
Yeah.
We're totally going to steal that.
Nearsighted. Yeah. No, it's fantastic. I know. I'm like, I really like that word. That really fits, to so many situations, including before hopping on a podcast recording.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just ask you, with your blog post, could you pick one that is your favorite? Is that even possible? Or one that really stands out in your mind that you love the most?
That's a good question. I'd have to say, I hate to say them, but I do think that the obituaries, oddly enough, that we've done for both my husband and our dad, stand out in a way because they were a way to rewrite an obituary, to still know so much about this person that other people probably, things that they wouldn't have known beforehand, and add a little bit of humor to it, which is okay to do, right? Those are my two favorites.
No, and
anyway,
and that does stand to be still to this day as one of the most popular is the obituaries. But we did make them completely different. We made them funny, like we did add the humor. The other one that stands out to me is one we'll be posting next week, and it's the night before Christmas. It's a brilliant take on our version of the night before Christmas, and I love it. It's funny.
Yeah.
Well, tune in next week.
Tune in. Stay tuned. Tuned. I am excited to have a look for that one. And I think it's so nice to have written the posts that are obituaries, and really a way to celebrate, right, the special people in our lives, and to share their stories, and including the funny, because that's a big part of our experiences with people.
Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of people wouldn't have known the insider,
right?
Like
the nuances of that person.
Yeah, it is a nice way to honor, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I had asked you for some of your most frequently asked questions, so I'm going to get this one out kind of near the beginning of our conversation here. And one that you shared that you get asked is, do you drink wine all the time?
Right?
Yeah.
Which is no.
Okay.
Not even close.
No.
We're really good at balance. Mm-hmm. We're really good at finding the balance. Like if I'm going to go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night, or I have an event during the week, then I try and balance out with healthy eating. We work out. I think we've really achieved that, now that we're older too. It was a little bit more when our kids were younger, and the moms were all getting together for cocktails in the afternoon, on the patio sort of thing. And the kids were running wild in the backyard, but we don't really have that much anymore. No. So balance is key.
We're out socially a lot. We do a lot of things socially. And if I'm going to have a glass of wine when I'm out, that's fine to do. I'm not going to limit that. But when I'm at home and I'm sitting myself and it's a Tuesday night, you don't see me popping a cork.
No.
Okay. So you are the Sangria Sisters, but it's not, it's like a piece and a part of the whole picture of who you are.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. We love our wine. We can twist. But we just do it when it's warranted.
Yeah, I love that. So this podcast is all about teaching and learning, the stuff that happens in the classroom, in those four walls, but also the teaching and learning that happens beyond that. So How would you say teaching and learning have been part of your journey with blogging?
Well, for me, we're two old broads that are not very tech savvy, frankly. So we have had quite the learning curve in learning how to do the website and to load things and to just handle the technical difficulties that come along. Because I mean, I love technology when it's working, but the biggest amount of swear words come out of my mouth probably when it's not.
When the color wheel
Yeah,
is going.
it's going on and on. So the amount of things that we've had to Google or look up or train ourselves on.
Lots of research. Don't check our browsers.
And even for blogs, like for blog ideas that we're doing, there's things that we have to be more informed of before we do put it out there. So yeah, we do a lot of research, a lot of learning all the time.
Well, and it keeps us relevant.
Very much so.
And things like social media. Social media is not easy. And it's a time sucker, and there's algorithms, and it's like, okay. So there's a lot of learning involved all the way along, for sure. But I like it because it does, it engages our mind and it does keep us young.
Yeah, especially in those times when we're problem solving and troubleshooting.
Sure.
But it feels good to get the problem solved. It feels like such a huge win because, there's been lots of bumps I've had in my journey too.
I bet.
There's a big sense of accomplishment in learning something new and implementing it. Yeah.
Well, we actually thought about doing podcasts originally because that's just we're talkative and we're extroverted. But boy, I was like, I looked into it and I'm like, it's too much work.
If I can do it, you could absolutely do it. You could absolutely do it.
Well, thank you for your trust.
Yeah. And if you had questions, I'd be happy to help because from where I started to where I am now, there was a lot of learning and a lot of hiccups and things along the way. So it's helpful when you can get some guidance and
I think you're a detailed girl, are you not? Like
I may be.
Yeah, exactly. Your book does indicate that.
I do like details. Yes.
Yeah.
But I've had tons of help with my podcast along the way, and with anything new that I've learned along the way. I love asking questions and am so appreciative of guidance and support from people who have done it before or have expertise in a certain area. It makes a big difference because sometimes, maybe I could figure it out, but it'll take me hours or days or weeks. And it's nice to be able to get that support from someone who just knows.
Well, thank God for Google, because when I was a kid, you'd have to go get the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Right.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I know our kids have no idea.
No
they're
idea.
like, how did you find books? Or when I was in high school, that was when CD-ROMs first came out, like basically the encyclopedia on a disc.
Yeah.
And now it's, hey, Google.
Exactly. Right? And I love it. I mean, it's information at my fingertips. I love it. I use it like 20 times a day rather than going to the library and the old Dewey Decimal System.
Oh my God. Microfiche. I had microfiche in university. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so much easier to learn things and access information and find things out. And when I'm driving my 12-year-old to swimming lessons or back from swimming lessons, he has all these things that he shares with me. And I know the answer before I even ask him, but I say, where did you learn that? YouTube.
Yeah. YouTube.
Brilliant.
YouTube University. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. But you can learn anything. Like
you can.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
It is
How to tie a tie. I think that's the number one thing that pops out when you write how to tie a tie comes up number one in all the right. Because how would you learn to for young boys?
Yeah. Go to YouTube. Yeah. I love that. So what about teaching? So I'm thinking about, like, with your blog posts, I'm sure you get feedback from people and you're sharing, your ideas and the things you've researched and learned about out into the world. What sort of feedback do you get from people with what you're writing and maybe those insights or aha moments that it created for them?
Well, I think when we began writing, we were a little too cautious of who our readers were going to be. You know, Dad was still around, Mom, and I think their friends picked up on our blog quite quickly too, and of course our kids. You know, and we sort of wrote with that in the back of our mind, even though that wasn't our target audience anyway. And I think that limited us a little bit. So over time, we've taught ourselves to really just not listen to that voice that's thinking somebody else is judging it, and just go with what we find interesting and entertaining and enlightening, and then the fallout where it is. And we've always been richly rewarded with the feedback from people. We get such great feedback from friends or people that we don't even know that are reading it. I'm always surprised to run into someone who's just like, oh my God, I love your blog. It's so great. We get so much of it. Yeah.
Nice feedback. And I save a lot of the comments. I just screenshot them because I'm going to put them all together sometime just to, say,
it's a good
we're relating to people. That's true.
Yeah. So it's a good reminder for us though, either way, you don't listen to if you want to get some ideas on what to write about, you can listen to what some of the feedback is. But for the most part, whether it's positive or negative, we are just standing strong in what we prefer to write about and what we want to put out there.
And we don't have trolls like so many girls I know have just an amazing amount of trolls. And I don't understand what motivates people to write those inner thoughts. They must be deeply unhappy, but anyway, we're consider ourselves very fortunate for that. We do try and stay out of the political realm, and
there's a few touchy areas that we won't go into just because it's not
our
not what we need to do. We're trying to make light of things all the time. So
add the light to a very dark world.
That is so needed. That is so needed. Yeah. No, it is too bad. I'm happy to hear that you're not getting the trolls. I've had a couple of people, and and of course it's like anything with feedback. When you get the one or two comments, unfortunately, those are the ones that stick.
Yeah.
And amidst all the positivity, I try and think, okay, what is sort of the underlying piece? Maybe there's something I can take that's constructive from it. And if there's not, then, try my best just to let it, go. Yeah. But I do think oftentimes with people, like having been a teacher and students going through things and dealing with things at home or with friends or whatever's going on for them, there's often more to the story. And sometimes an action or something somebody does, there's something going on for them. So I try and think, maybe something in their life isn't going very well, and I'm a person that they don't know, and it's easy to sit down at the computer and type something and kind of get out whatever feelings you have, and you're sort of anonymous, right? So yeah, there's
I think that too. I always think, who hurt you?
I know, right?
Somebody did.
It's just something they're going through at the time, and it could be a trigger that was hit, and the last thing you need to do is pour gas on it.
Exactly.
So it's best to just let it have the air and let it burn out. Yeah.
So it stings a little bit at first, and then you just
let
it go. I'm like anonymous person
and
I'll
women,
never meet.
Now we harbor that one negative out of 100 comments,
and we're not insecure girls at all. Like we're pretty. I wouldn't call us insecure at all, but we have some soft spots.
We all have those soft spots, right? Yeah, especially when we're well-intentioned, we're trying our best to do the best we can in whatever it is we're doing. So when that kind of stuff comes back, it's not the best, but thankfully there's way more positive out there.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Now, with blogging and your 7-year journey, and obviously you've shared with me some of the things that you sort of learned along the way. So if somebody listening is curious about getting into blogging themselves, what advice might you give them?
Well, one thing is when you're writing, always read it aloud. When you're editing, read aloud, because that's, if you're just reading it, it's not going to expose the clunky parts. So I learned that from a author that I saw at WordFest. Write because you love writing. I mean, you have to love it, and you have to do it consistently, which is like, we always take the summers off and stuff because why wouldn't we? But we didn't to begin with. Like, we would just plow it out, and it was too much. It just got to be, so we write because we truly love to write. And the chances of you making money are small unless you're going to add the Google ads or find your media kit or your sponsors or things like that. But it's just, don't quit your day job because it's not going to pay the bills. I think we thought we were going to get rich.
Maybe just not yet.
Right?
Well, I think we are. It's just hasn't happened yet.
maybe that's like a book deal or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you just never know. And then I think too, there's like that definition of success that we each have, right? And what's kind of success for us in whatever we do. Like podcasting, you don't make money podcasting.
Right.
But that's not what it is for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it for as long as I have, just as I'm sure you wouldn't have been doing blogging for as long as you have. Yeah. So I think that's such great advice. Do it because you love it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the reading out loud piece. So I'm working on a new book and I have a long way to go, but I went to my parents' house for a day while they were away to do what I called a writing retreat for myself, like basically away from my family, the laundry, the dishes, and all the things, just so I could focus on writing. And I read what I had written already out loud. I caught so many things. Yeah. So many things didn't make sense, or the sentence went on way too long, or such great advice, because it's so different when you're just reading it in your head than when you read it out loud.
Yeah, shockingly different.
Yeah. What about for you, Lori? What would be something you'd recommend or suggest for somebody who's thinking about venturing into the crazy world of blogging?
I think branding would be a good thing, to kind of understand what it is you want to write about and to sort of stay not in that lane, but at least within the realms of what you want to discuss. I think we've had other women that have had ones on menopause, and so they stick sort of in that realm, and then there's a wealth of information that can be harvested in that area. So find out what it is, what your brand is going to be about, and sort of make sure you're sort of staying in that. I think it helps people identify with you, and they know exactly consistently what they're going to get.
Mm-hmm. And I like too how you're saying also what they're not going to get. So those lanes that you're choosing to stay out of, because that doesn't align with who you are and in terms of what you want to write about and
exactly.
talk about.
We have a broad spectrum just because ours was humor.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make light or find the funny in all the situations. So that opens up to a lot of different subjects that we can talk about as long as we are bringing that element to it. But that really does help stay on brand for who the Sangria Sisters are.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if you're all of a sudden going down some dark path,
right?
Yeah, that's not it. Where there's no funny
Check on
at
us.
all. Yeah, I'll send you a message. So you know that conversation we had when you said you're making light of things? I don't feel like this is on brand. Just a comment. Yeah. Just my observation. Now, not only do you write a blog, you've also been published in what I know for sure of 3 co-authored books. So it was the In Her Voice series that was edited by Lisa Webb and Marcy. Is it Hessel? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hessel.
So it was sisterhood, motherhood, and finding yourself. So what kind of led you down that road, and what was that experience like for you?
Well, it was an interesting opportunity, I thought. We'd always done shorter pieces because what can fit, like for a blog, they say 300 to 600 words maximum sort of thing, but you can only fit 300 or so on Instagram. And that was one thing too, going back to learning. Once we started sharing, actually putting the blog, like what the words were, rather than just the link on, because people just won't press a link, or they won't leave what they're
Deviate.
on. So anyway, we just thought this was an interesting way to go a little bigger. It was 2,500 words is what they were looking for. The topics, of course, were right up our alley. Sisterhood is what we live for. Motherhood, it's very relatable. We're all in it. And then losing yourself was the story of Lori losing her husband Scott and or finding yourself. And I guess you lose yourself first, then you find yourself. So it was really a story of triumph. And so we were very, very happy. And it just kind of, we had 3 books on Amazon that we were part of. It was very cool.
It was a great learning experience. It helped us grow as writers as well.
Very much. Yeah. I think that was pivotal for when we kind of turned the corner and became better.
Yeah, 3 and contributing to all 3 books, that's a significant undertaking in itself. So yeah, lots of opportunity there to learn and grow. Now, do you have any other book plans in your future?
Well, we'd kind of like to. That's when we met at the book launch, and that was how to write a book. And I think I was trying to put what would be interesting. And I think that because we're at a stage of our lives where we've been there, done that, what you're doing now, I think perspective is so much key for us. And so we understand the shit you can let go and the stuff you should keep. That's actually are important. And so I think that's something that we will eventually share with y'all.
Yeah. We also have, in that process of writing those short stories, we actually wrote more in anticipation of there being another book in that series. And so we do have some short stories that are already written that we can go back in and keep editing and doing new rewrites on it. But I would like to shop around and try and find out if there is a home for those as well, because there's some good stuff in there.
It's Julie, The Adventures of Julie the Uterus.
I love that.
So it's basically a
cruise ship
going through a woman's body.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So you have lots of material to work with. And it's funny when you said, been there, done that. I'm like, ooh, that'd be such a good book title.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And also podcast name too.
Right? That's true. That is good, actually. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know if it's out there already, but I'm like, ooh, that is very aligned, and that would be very good and very catchy. Yeah. And you'd have some fantastic wisdom to share. It would be really good. It would be really good.
And we can't help ourselves for imparting it. Like whoever we speak to, we're just like, here's a nugget here. It's like, stop it.
But there's so many situations along the way, especially in being a mom, where I think to myself, why did someone not tell me this? Like,
exactly.
Surely, you mention whatever it is you're going through. Oh yeah, I went through that. Well, then why wouldn't you tell me?
I think in this stage of social media always shows the filtered, glitzy, glamorous. And I think that's what we pride ourselves on, is being the unfiltered version of that, and that it's not always rosé behind the white picket fence, is what we say. So yeah, we're truth tellers.
Very appreciated. I appreciate that so much more than me telling me like that everything's perfect and here's like the 5 things you need to do to have a perfect day with your kids, because
it doesn't exist.
No, then you just feel like you're failing miserably.
Right. I think perfection actually is like the worst thing you could try and achieve. It's just not attainable. It's just going to send you over the edge. It's just, especially with kids, like you think, oh, you're going to have that magical, we're going to go to the zoo and we'll see the zoo lights. And next thing you know, one kid's down on the ground screaming and the others,
I
run
never had
away and
that happen
Yeah,
ever.
right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just you
Yeah.
have to lower your expectations, and you have to accept that some things are just good enough. I think
Yeah.
that's really important.
Yeah, and it's funny, now that our kids are a bit older and we talk about some of the experiences that we had and sort of their version of that experience, like they're not remembering some of the
No.
details that, yeah,
That's our
no,
biggest thing is
yeah,
they don't remember. They don't remember all the magic you created or they just literally, I was going through the photo albums with my kids over
Mhm.
at COVID and they're just like, I don't remember any of this. And I'm like, what?
Do you know the hours of thought I put into making this magical moment?
Exactly. So you just,
Yeah.
again, you just don't have to try so hard.
No, and oftentimes it's the little things or the most obscure things. They're like, remember this time that we da 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 da? I think, maybe I should have
Yeah.
focused more on those things
Yeah, right.
instead.
I think it's just the
Yeah,
biggest focus is just be present. That's
totally.
really what it comes down to.
Yeah. With my 15-year-old right now, it's all about bananagrams.
I
Oh, I
love
love
bananagrams.
bananagram.
Yeah, we do a
Oh, you're
lot.
so
Yeah.
lucky
Yeah,
because
he loves it.
15
I
is
know. Knock on
generally,
wood. I know.
oh,
Yeah, so far so good. I'm like, hey, buddy, do you want to play a game of bananagrams? He's like 99% of the time in. So I'll take it.
perfect.
I'll take
Yeah.
it. Now you're both at that next stage. So you've got adult children kind of heading out into the world. So if you could say to yourself, like if you knew then what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself about parenting? I know we sort of talked about some of what that answer could be a little bit.
Mhm. What would you do?
Don't get a like a
Non-fussy.
non-fussy mom haircut. You'll regret it forever.
Both of us chopped our hair off in an effort to keep from tying it back all the time in these what we thought were
Bobs.
sleek bobs, and we thought they were cutting edge cute. Turns out, nope.
Oh,
We just
no.
a couple of mushroom heads, and it took forever to grow out.
Yeah.
And those pictures are all the ones that I don't ever like bringing those up.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
man.
right. My biggest one is in the process of teaching your kids to be independent, you should take some lessons yourself.
That's a good one.
Because what happens when they leave or when they get older is there's many times I've seen women just not able to function because they weren't prepared. I think you have to start training yourself in advance for or finding some interests or anything that is going to serve you well when you're not parenting all the time.
And I don't think your kids don't realize at the time when they're young like that they're actually watching you grow up as well, right? You don't have it all figured out. They didn't come with the manuals, so you are learning as you go, and you're still learning about yourself and going through a lot of trials and tribulations with your relationships and all of those things too. So, cut yourself a lot of slack is what I would say.
That's true. You're only you're in your 20s and 30s, right?
Yeah.
You don't have it going on. You don't really know a lot then. Like I think once you hit your 40s, you're starting to hit your stride.
Yeah.
But from then before that,
And your kids aren't going to really relate until they are, I'd say, at least probably 25 or have kids of their own. Basically, they're not really going to get it until then anyway. So
So how old are your children now?
I have a 24-year-old. Abby's my niece,
daughter's
her 25, and my other son Brennan is 26.
Wow.
So 24, 25, 26.
Wow.
Can you believe it? We're
No.
just like
And
we're
it's
only
fun.
29 ourselves.
Right?
Right? So how is that even possible? I hear there's that part. There's that part. I struggle with how could I possibly be old enough to have a child in grade 12?
Exactly.
No.
Isn't that funny? It goes by so quickly.
So
Like it really does. I know
quickly.
everyone says that, but
Yeah.
it's like this year happened in 30 seconds. It's just,
I agree. Yeah, I feel like Rylan, our oldest, was just in kindergarten.
Yeah. Well, and it gets really fun
Yeah.
at this stage as well because now they're transitioning more into a friend as well.
Yeah.
So we have a lot more common interests, and just it's really fun to spend time with them when when they let us.
Oh, yeah, right. That's true. But you know, they're so one-dimensional when they're younger. Like they've just got blinders on as a teenager.
Yeah.
That's just, and they all are, and God bless them. But once the blinders come off,
They've been out in the world.
yeah, right. Yeah. They've got a little bit of world experience. They're done school. It's more rewarding.
That's good to hear, because yes. we're on the verge of having a third teenager in our house.
Oh.
Yeah, there's 17, 15, and almost 13. So
is that a girl or boy?
We have 3 boys.
Three boys. That's right.
So, yeah. So, yeah, no, they're each their own people, and like different, things about them that are awesome and easy, and then things that have been, tough and challenging depending on the day and the moment and all the things. Yeah, they're an interesting mix, definitely not the same as one another.
Well, and it's just not easy to be a teenager. I mean, especially now.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go back.
No, I would never go back. I would never go back to junior high and high school. That was like, and not that I had any problems, but you're plagued with insecurity.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's just everything. There's drama. It's a lot. And now, especially with these guys, with the screen time and the social media and everything like that, like it's not good. It's not good for this young generation at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers, that's for sure.
There's a lot of layers.
A lot of layers. Yeah. No, when I started out teaching, I taught junior high, and then I taught high school, and I thought to myself, like, I loved them. I loved them, but it was so complicated and messy and like crazy and wonderful. But I thought, wow, one day if I have kids and I have teenagers, maybe somebody else can borrow them for a bit, because I didn't have them 24/7. But no, it's been pretty good. We're pretty lucky. But yeah, it's definitely a time when you're feeling all the feels and trying to find your way and figure out who you are. And yeah, there's a lot,
especially grade 12, because they're basically, you might as well be asking them what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. They really, it's deer in headlights in grade 12.
Yeah, it really is. And I try, and I feel like I've set a good example, because I change what I'm doing about every 3 to 5 years. And so hopefully they can see that I still don't actually know what I want to be when I grow up. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, every 3 to 5. Yeah, my husband's like, so what's next? What's next?
Yeah, totally. Like it's just, you just have to take it in shorter increments.
Exactly. And you can always change your mind.
Yeah, and you can always evolve. Like, goodness, that's the beauty of life, is hopefully there is some evolution.
Right. Yes. Hopefully there's some evolution. Now, I wanted to jump into something that I mean, there's many things that I love about both of you, but one in particular is how giving back and championing causes that are close to your heart is such a big part of what you do. And one organization that I know you're both huge advocates for and are quite involved with is Brown Bagging for Calgary Kids. Is that the correct name?
Yes, Brown Bagging for Calgary's Kids.
Awesome. Yeah. So I wanted to know why giving back is so important to you both, and what you've learned through giving back.
Well, for me, I lost the purpose. I just wasn't sure what to do with myself because I'd had the career, and then I'd done the school and all the student council or parent council and all that. And then I was just lost. I just found myself in my robe, a glass of wine, and, like, it was just a sad time. And so then I got involved with Meal Share first, which is they were affiliated charity partners, and then Brown Bagging, and both of them worked to alleviate youth hunger. There millions and millions of kids have been fed because of it. I always go back to, I'm glad the kids are getting fed. That's so important. They will not socialize in class or at lunch if they don't have a lunch. Generally, there's almost a sense of shame that's with it from the start. They know it's not quite right. Sometimes the kids they'll eat the lunch, or the brothers and sisters will trade off which day who gets to eat the lunch that day. Like, so this has really taken a lot of weight off the shoulders of the parents. And I always think about the parents and how grateful that they must be for that. But we've done a number of things. We sat on the Ovarian Council Relatable organizing committee for a number of years. Lori did
Look Good, Feel Better.
Yeah.
I was a makeup artist for them, volunteering.
Yeah.
With cancer patients, and years ago did the Special Olympics and things like. But you know what? Our mom was a big volunteer. She was always into giving of her time, and she sort of instilled that very early, that it's, you get more than you give almost when you do.
Definitely.
You know, and no matter what you're going through, there's always someone else that's in a worse place, and you should be turning around and helping them up.
Yeah, giving back is so rewarding, for not for the other people who are the recipients, but for the people who are actually giving, like who are doing it. It's just a way to.
Yeah.
I feel it's everyone's responsibility at some point in their lives. Certainly not when you have younger kids and you're busy all the time, but there's a certain point where you could just help out in such small ways that it's
Makes
worth
such
it.
a big difference.
Yeah.
Well, you both set a great example of that yourselves.
Thank you.
So it sounds like your mom is someone that you both admire, especially in how giving back was a big part of who she is. So do you have a favorite teacher that really comes to mind when you think back?
For me, it's the late great Mr. Natchuk, my grade 10 algebra teacher in high school. I had no business being in algebra, first of all. I'm somewhat math dyslexic, to say the least. It was a very tough subject for somebody who is such a physical, like I'm a visual learner, and I really just could not understand numbers. So what do? I ran away from it. I basically skipped out of most of the classes until I got caught and suspended. And at that time, I think at midterms, I was running around with about a 32 average. And he had volunteered his time to sit with me at the lunches and basically tutor me and make me understand in the simplest possible ways day after day until I could pass with a 64, just to get me through. And I kept thinking at the time, why would he do this? Like, what's in it for him? I guess I was thinking, or why is he doing this for me when I so clearly disrespected him and his class? But then I realized that that's what teachers do, right? They teach for the love of teaching, and they want to see the student succeed. And I didn't understand that at the time, but I did write a blog about that years later, sort of thanking him for that, just because he obviously believed that I could do it, even when I couldn't have cared less to do it. But he did. He made me see how the importance of it. And he stuck with me through all of that for it. So,
and he actually read it. Somebody sent it. Somebody sent it.
Mom went to his house.
That's right. Mom printed it out.
Drove it to his house and showed it to him.
He was thrilled.
I bet
Yeah.
he was like that. He's somebody that you still think of to this day.
Yeah, big influence that way.
That's so special. Val, what about you?
More so for me, it was like I'm a lifelong learner. I just can't ever get enough. And during COVID, I found that there was so many classes offered and available for free. Like, these women were so generously donating their time, and we were also starved for something to do. So I did, I couldn't tell you, I bet you 25, 30 different courses and classes. And in particular, I remember Carly Catola from Style to Sparkle. And she'd had a 10-week course on social media and blogging and websites and security and all that. And I just soaked it up. Not that I remembered half of it, but I sure enjoyed it at times. So yeah, I really, so for me, COVID was a very informative time.
Yeah, you learned a lot. You got really curious.
Exactly.
Yeah, took advantage of all the great opportunities to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a few quick rapid fire questions for you both so that I can pick your brains and learn from you some more. What is something that you would love to learn about, or something you would love to learn how to do?
For me, I'd have to say it's public speaking in general. I would love to get more of a comfort level with it. We both of us have such a fear, like a paralyzing fear of it for whatever reason. I guess that is the number one fear for a lot of people. But
Over death.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Higher than death? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that it's come up a few times now where we have, something like this. I'm fine. I'm comfortable. It's a conversation. But when I have to be in front of people with a microphone and relaying anything or telling my story or just being interviewed, it is a bit daunting for me. My anxiety kicks up and I have to learn how to talk myself down and quell those fears. So it's something I'd like to do, maybe push myself out of my comfort zone and try it more, just so that I would actually be better at it. Yeah, I'd have to say that's me.
I'm taking Spanish lessons right now on Duolingo for the last year and a half since we went to Costa Rica. I believe you were just there, right?
Yeah, not too long ago, 2 years ago now. Yeah.
So we've been about a year and a half, and I just was inspired when I was there because I was just so I'm a visitor in your country and I can't talk to you at all.
Yeah.
It just seemed rude. So I've been plugging away. I am up to 738 words.
That's impressive. That's a good vocabulary.
I'm like a grade 2.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Lori, I'm excited for you and to see you doing some more speaking. I feel you on that one. It's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, but I don't think it's something you'll ever conquer unless you just make yourself get out there and do it somehow.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's interesting. Someone I've gotten to know is Suzanne Fox, who used to be like the host of Breakfast Television. And so she has lots of experience, speaking and being in front of a crowd, but she says she still gets nervous.
yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And I think, nervousness often comes when we care about something, right? And we want to do a good job. And it's like about channeling that nervousness in a positive way. But when Lindsay made me get up and speak at the event that we were both at, I felt so nervous. So
You didn't.
No,
It didn't show.
On the inside. Thank you for not noticing. As I'm like breaking into a sweat. So yes. Yeah. No, I completely relate. So yeah, it's
the first time we did it, it wasn't great, and that's because we tried to memorize our words. We didn't let it flow. We were very stiff. We weren't just bantering. It was so. Those are the things you learn, though. Like, how do you know before that?
Yeah, just keep practicing and practicing. So. Costa Rica is somewhere you've been to recently, but what would be a place that's at the top of your travel bucket list?
Europe. Neither one of us, if you can believe it, has crossed the pond. We have not been anywhere overseas.
And we're very well traveled. But
we've been around a lot, but we get around.
She's been around a lot.
And that's just somewhere that's been on the bucket list for a long time. And this year, finally, this 2024, we're both got trips planned that we're going to make it happen. So
I love that.
Yeah, just got to start getting on those things and getting those checked off, because you just never know. So we're able-bodied, we're able to do it, and we're really looking forward to adding that to something else to check off.
Sangria's in Spain.
I love it. I can't wait to follow along on that adventure. That'll be so fun. What is a favorite book or podcast that you've been into lately, or movie or TV show?
For you?
Oh, yes, sure. Well, I'm an avid reader. I just finished a book by Barbara Kingsolver called Demon Copperhead, which won the Pulitzer, and it's breathtaking. It's just the way it's written from a 10-year-old boy. It was just done so beautifully. It's about the opioid crisis down in Virginia, or how it began. And the one I just finished last night was A Very Punchable Face by Colin Jost, and he's the Weekend Update anchor on SNL. And so that I just to hear all the insider, because again, that would be my dream job is to be a writer, for a sketch comedy writer like that.
That would
Val's
be
an
awesome.
avid reader, though. You read a lot of books.
I read about 4 books a month. Yeah.
Wow.
And you've got a movie or?
Well, I'm really into documentaries now. I just really like the latest ones. As everyone probably, there was a lot of people that watched, the Beckham story, or Robbie Williams was another one I really enjoyed, because I think I saw the public persona, and you see how, world renowned and how successful they are, but you don't realize the struggle behind the scenes and the pain that they've gone through and the adversities and everything that they've had to overcome to get back up on top again. And I just find that a really fascinating, gripping story. It adds to their story, I think. So yeah, I'm enjoying those.
I love that. I love learning kind of, yeah, the behind the scenes story, because oftentimes
Exactly.
you just hear about the wins and the highlights,
Exactly. Or you assume
or you
Yeah.
assume.
that their life is just
Exactly.
golden like that all the
Yeah.
time, but that's not the case.
And Barbie.
Oh,
Screw
Barbie,
the patriarchy.
right?
I love that. I went with my husband. It was awesome.
It was so good.
So good. He enjoyed it too, actually. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
can't
it
wait
was
till it
good.
comes out on video because I
Yeah.
Right?
definitely want to. You have to see it again.
Right?
Yeah, it's
And for
so
anyone
good.
who played with Barbies when you were little like that, it was the personification of what Barbie was. Like, she could be anything.
Yeah,
Anything you wanted to make her. And I
exactly.
love that. I love that they kept that about the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just fantastic, everything about it. Now, if you could sit down and have a conversation with someone that you'd love to learn from, who would it be and why?
For me, it would be Kevin Aquan. He was a makeup artist, very famous celebrity makeup artist, I guess. He had gone through the ranks and worked his way up. He's deceased now, but I always was upset that I never got the chance to meet him before he passed. I just love his. I'm a makeup artist too from way back, and I just love his view on beauty, on taking a woman's, finding the natural beauty and just enhancing those features to make it look like you still, but the best version of you without having to do all the main, like all the stuff that's out there now. It's a lot of copy and paste, I think, with how everyone's looking, with all the brows and lashes and lips and you name it. But his was finding your individual beauty and bringing that out. And I love everything about him.
I think the worst thing that's happened is the Kardashians. Like, really, it's just bastardized beauty for all these young girls.
It's a tough standard.
Yeah.
It's a tough standard.
Hmm.
Yeah. And for me, I would love to meet Tina Fey and Amy Poehler because they're the gold standard for comedians
Yes.
and writers, like Mean Girls and all the SNL skits and Parks and Rec and all the shows that they've done. That I just, again, they find the funny in everything, and they're my heroes.
Yeah. Well, those are all very interesting people. And I love thinking about that, because this question is one of my favorites, because I think there's so many interesting people out there, and to have that opportunity to really pick their brain would be so fascinating if the opportunity presented itself. Now, as a final question, I just wanted to know if either of you or both of you have any thoughts or words of wisdom that might empower or support people with their own teaching and learning journeys.
Well, again, like Lori said, do you face your fears? If they hold you back, you're not learning, you're not expanding, you're not growing. So that's something we're learning to take in stride, because before it would be we would just stop there, and now we're learning to just bulldoze right through, and very often it's not nearly as bad on the other side.
No, 90% of the roadblocks that are in front of us are put up by ourselves, by
Mm-hmm.
our own mind. So most of the times when you're working straight through them, most of those things aren't even happening. The things that you feared that were going to happen, it was a lot of energy that was wasted, basically, on things that never even materialized. So feel the fear and do it anyway. And don't worry about imposter syndrome is a big thing. That is real.
Yes, that's the
That is very real.
worst. And we all have it. There's not a soul. The biggest celebrities have it. So that is something that you have to just tell yourself that you are worthy, and you deserve you deserve the good stuff that comes your way.
You know what you're doing. Yeah. You're good at it. Yeah. And just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I love that advice, and I want to thank you both so much for sharing your time and story and words of wisdom with us today. And if our listeners want to learn more about you and check out your blog and find out all the things that you're up to, where are the best places to find you?
Our website is www.sangriasisters.ca. CA, because it's Canada. Of course, Instagram, it is a Sangria Sisters blog. And Facebook is Sangria Sisters. There's Twitter, but nobody looks at Twitter.
Okay. I'll make sure to share all those in the show notes, maybe even Twitter too.
Yeah. I mean, I check in, but it's so, I find it so divisive and hate-filled that I don't use it very often anymore.
It's becoming less
popular. Twitter has to be so in the moment to be
it's good for
useful
current.
That way. You have to be on it, and that takes you out of other things sometimes when you're trying to be in the moment on social media. It's taking you out of wherever you may be at the time. So it's not something that we usually do use that much.
Taking you out of the moment of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you again, both of you, so much for joining me today. It was fantastic to chat with you and to learn from you both.
It really was. Yeah. That was super fun.
Very enjoyable.
Yeah. You're just a lovely person. You have that warmth and
ease.
Yeah. Felt that from way before we ever met you. Always knew that we're just gravitate to people like you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'm excited that we've had this chance to connect.
Mm-hmm. Next time we do it over drinks.
Let's do that.